Hello everyone, I'm Siddharthan. This is the eighth topic in our complete Python course where we will be discussing about print statements. So these print statements are a very basic yet something that we often use in our coding. So this can be used to print some text or values on the screen to the user, or it can also be very helpful when you want to debug something. So let's say that there are like several lines of code and you want to understand what's a particular variable's value is in, let's say, 100th line. So those print statements can be really helpful in order to do this debugging and also understand what's the variable is at that particular part of the code. So there are like different uses for this print statements. So let's try to understand how we can start with a very basic print statements, look at the various variations, and also use how to use this f strings and so on. And finally, let's also discuss how we can print this colored text in Python using print. So this will be the agenda for today's video, and let's get started. So I'm going to do my coding in Jupyter Notebook. So you can do this in Jupyter or Google Collaboratory or even in your IDEs like PyCharm or VS Code. So that's like completely up to you. So I have started my Jupyter Notebook and I've created a .ipynb file and named this as py8 print statements. So here let's start with a very simple print statement. So I'll say this as the first thing that we are going to discuss as let's say a simple print statement, and I've used a comment here as you can see, and now I'll say just use this print keyword, which is again a keyword in Python, and say hello world. So this will just like print a string. So here we have used a string. So here you can use any string. So make sure that you are either enclosing it in double quotes or single quotes. So you can use both of these as well, but make sure that you are using the uniform one. So you can use this, or instead of double quotes, you can use single quotes in both of these places. So this is not within print statement, but in general for string itself. So these quotes can be used. So this is how we can use a simple print statement in order to print a string. So next, let's see how we can print different data types like a string or integer or even a floating point value using variables. So here I can say name is equal to Alice. I'll put this in a string within the quotes, and age is going to be, let's say, a number. So even you can consider some values like weight, which would be a decimal number. You can try that as well. So now I'm going to say print name. So the name is going to be, so I'll put a colon, and when I put a comma, it's going to automatically add a space and it's going to add this variable. So here I'll say name colon comma. So this is going to add a space and display this variable's value, which is Alice. And then I can say another comma and another quotes, and within this I can say age. Put a comma here and put age here. So here we don't have to convert this integer into a string because we are like basically printing multiple arguments here, where one of these is a string and the other one is an integer. So let's run this, and this would say as name is Alice and age is 25. And here you can see here space has been added after this colon in both of these places, and that's because of the comma that we are using over here. So that's the other thing. There is another way to do this. So you can also concatenate this, but for that you have to do something different. So here I can say name and plus name. So this is going to concatenate these two things, but unlike the comma plus symbol, which is going to basically join two strings, it's not going to add a space there. So you actually have to add a space here so that you can see a space here. And the other thing is, let me put let's say another plus sign, and I'll leave a space here, put a semicolon, again leave a space, and let's say I'm putting this as age. So again I'm using this string concatenation, but this won't work because age 25, it's an integer, it's not enclosed in double quotes, it's an integer, right? So when I run this is going to give me an error for me. As you can see, can only concatenate string, not integer to string. So both of these should be string. In order to do this concatenation, you have to put a string keyword here. So that's going to convert this age integer into a string value, and now we would see the same print statement that we have seen before. So this is another variation of how you can like basically print multiple arguments and with different data types. Maybe I'll put this as uh, print multiple data types. So where one data type in this case is string and the other one is integers. In this case we didn't do any conversion, so we directly printed that. In this case we have converted this integer to a string and then we have printed this. So this is another variation. So similarly, let's look at the other stuff as well. So this is using escape character. So this is another useful technique that we can use. So these escape characters would be something like new line characters and a tab space, and we can also use quotes. Let's understand this. Okay, so here I'll say I, and I'll put a comma here. So it's, this comma is not going to add a space because this is within the string. So when you put a comma outside this double quote, so that's where it's going to add a space. So that's something that you can remember. So here I'll say let me say good morning, something like this, and put a exclamatory mark here. So here we are saying I good morning and we are printing this. So now let's say that I want to add this good morning in a new line. In that case, what I can do is, before this good morning, I can use a backslash n. So this backslash is what we basically call as escape characters, and this escape characters of backslash n is, it's going to create a new line and put whatever is coming after this backslash n in a new line. So when I run this, it's going to say I good morning because we have used this new line character using this backslash and n. So here n represents that new line. So similarly, we can use this tab space as well. So let's try the same words, but instead we can say something like I. I'll put a comma. You can leave a space, or if you want, or you can just like ignore that and say backslash t, which is for tab, and say good morning. Okay, so this is going to print this. So I good morning. So we have tab, which is like four spaces, right? So that's what a tab is. So this is how you can use a tab over here. So that is another thing that we can discuss, which is to use quotes. So let us say that we have something like print you know, Python is a programming language. So this is what we have to print, but let's say that we have to put this within a quote. So this programming should be within a quote. So here if you use a double quote, it's not going to work well. So if I just like, let's say, use a double quote here, it's not going to work well because now it's kind of expecting this string, this double quotes to close, and it's basically not like the ideal way. So if you want to, you know, use double quotes within a double quote string, in that case, again, you can use this backslash. So I'll just use a backslash here and another backslash here as well. So when you use a backslash, this quote that we have, or any character that we have, is also considered as a string. So when I run this, it's going to put this programming word here, right? So rather, you can also do something like instead of having this double quotes here, I can have this as backslash and double quotes here. So this double quotes is for these two things. So this programming and language should be included in this quotes. And the last double quote that you're seeing is for this print statement. So whenever you want to put, let's say, a quote within a quoted string as we have here, you can use this backslash character to basically skip that quotes and just like use it in the string. So we would see something like Python is a programming language. So there is an alternate way to do this as well. So I'll copy this Python is a programming language thing. So if you want to put a double quote, what you can do is you can remove these escape characters as well. And then instead of double quotes, you can use a single quote for the string and then use double quotes here. So this wouldn't create any conflicts with those quotes. And this is what we would see. And alternatively, if you want to, let's say, put something in single quotes, so make sure that you use double quotes outside. So I would have something like this. So I'm using this double quotes outside, as you can see, but this programming is enclosed in single quotes. So double quotes and single quotes won't create any conflict. So you will see whatever is given here in the print statement. So I'll run this. So this is another variation of using escape characters and also quotes. So this escape character is again something that we can use often. So because of that ability to print something in a new line. So the other way would be to create another print statement, but again that's not efficient, right? So instead we just use a single print statement and just put it in a new line in order to write something in a different line. So this is like the other variation. So first we have discussed about a simple print statement. Next we have seen how to print multiple simple data types, just strings and integers. And then we have also seen how we can use this escape characters in a print statement. And now this next thing that we are going to move on is use something like a f string. So this f string is something that we have already discussed in the previous video where we were discussing about like this string formatting and so on, but let's also discuss this in terms of a print statement point of view. And this is also something that we often use in various cases when we want to replace or insert a variable value inside the string. And this is like much easier than using something like this, like you put a lot of commas and you kind of add a lot of plus and so on, right? So this is not that much efficient, so rather we can use this f strings. And this f string was introduced only after Python 3.6, but if you are working with a very old version of Python, so this may not work. So that's again something that you can keep in your mind. So now I'm going to say this is to print variables inside the f string. So I'll say name is equal to John Doe, and let's say age is equal to 35. So I want to print these two things just like we have over here, but I don't want to use these commas, plus signs, and so on. So what I can do is print my name uh, is put open and close your curly braces. So my name is this, and I am again open and close this curly braces years old. So before the start of the string, I'm going to use a f. So this f string is basically used to substitute some variable values within a string. So here the main string that we have here is, it should say my name is like, let's say John Doe, and I am 35 years old. So this is what we are expecting, right? So now what would happen is, if you use this f before the start of the string, and again start your string with this double quotes, close this properly, and then you have this curly braces, right? So in this curly braces, you can use the variables that you want to replace with. So here I can put this as age. So now what would happen is, this would say something like this. So my name is, this is not a string but a variable that we have already declared here. So this would say my name is John Doe, and I am, so here we have this age, so I am 35 years old. So this is what this would say. So when I run this, I'm going to get the values as my name is John Doe and I'm 35 years old. Again, in this case also, you don't have to convert this integer value into a string value, and you don't have to do that explicitly. So you can directly use this f string, and all the things that you want would be kind of like replaced or substituted here. So that's about it. So this is the other variation, and before this f string we add this format method, so even you can learn that as well. So let me put this as, this is the fourth one, right? Yes, this is the fourth variation that we have discussed. So the fifth one would be mm, using format method. So let me use the same thing, name of John Doe and age. Maybe we can just change the values as, let's say Jane Doe and age is 40. Let's say that this is the values that we have, and I can say something like print name, or we can just use the same string. So my name is, again open and close your curly braces, and I am, again put your curly braces here. So this should say 40 years old, right? Now outside the string, put a dot and type in format. So here we are not using any f string, so we didn't include this f as the previous case. So put format, open and close another parenthesis here, and within this you have to pass this name and date. So again, this is something we have also seen in the formatting, but let's discuss this in terms of print statements. So here we are printing a string, and here we need to basically insert some values. So my name is, and we have a curly braces, right? So this first curly braces will be replaced by the first value we have over here, and the second curly braces will be inserted with this value that we have over here, which is age. So instead of using a f string, you can use this dot format method and pass in the parameters that you want to replace in your string. And this would say my name is John Doe and I'm 40 years old. So this order is like important when using this format method. So this is also another simple thing that we have. So and the next thing that we are going to discuss is, so we have discussed about this escape characters, and I'll show you one example. So this is like printing raw strings. So let's say that I want to print something like this, a path of the file. So let's say that I have a file called as data.csv. So I'm going to print that data.csv is in a folder called, let's say, data slash yaml underscore datasets. And here I'm going to use backward slash, as sometimes we mention this path using this backward slash, right? Or maybe I can use a standard document directory as well. So let me say this as um, file path. So file path is in C colon slash users slash let's say sid slash documents. So let's say that this is where a particular file is. Okay, and let's run this. So this is giving a error. So this is because when you use a backslash, which is an escape character within a string in a print statement or even in a string, it's going to give you some errors. So in order to print something without considering this escape characters, or rather this backslashes should also be present in your print statements, in those cases you can use something called as a raw string. So all you have to do is, just like putting f before this f string, you can just put a r, and that's going to print whatever that you have. So even if you have some, let's say, backslashes or other characters that you don't want to skip, so this is something that you can remember. So this r stands for raw string, and when you use that, this backslashes wouldn't create any errors in your print statements. So this is other thing. And let's the next thing that we can discuss is how to print like the other data types. So previously we have seen strings and integers, right? So now let's see how we can print data types like list, boolean, and so on. So this is the seventh one. This is also similar. So print different data types. So here I'll say fruits list. So list, we haven't discussed about this data types, we will get there, but you can remember that list is just like a array, or it's like a set of numbers, like you have multiple values in one particular container, and that's something we called as a list, or multiple elements that are like considered as one single data. Okay, so in other programming languages like C, we call that as array. So it's kind of similar to this, and you can have like multiple data types within this as well. So here we are creating a list of fruits, putting that in a string. So the first element in this list is, let's say, apple, and then let's say we have orange, and we have, let's say, banana. So we have these three things, and this is a list. And then you also have a boolean value. So boolean values are nothing but true or false is what we call as boolean, and these should start with uppercase T. So as you can see, this is a keyword, and this has been turned to green color in Jupyter, right? So we have like two different data types. So here I can say print something like Python list, and you can put a comma, so that's going to add a space, and then just copy and put this fruits list. So this should print you the list. So not only strings or numbers, you can also print list using the print statement. So that's what I wanted to show you. And maybe in the next line, let's print Python boolean value, put a comma, and use boolean value variable that we have declared previously. So run this. It's not defined. Okay, so there is a typo here. So let me replace this. So we have Python list, we have apple, orange, and banana, and then we have Python boolean value as true. So this is how you can print list and other data types like boolean in print statement. So it's not like you can only print integers or strings using the print. So that's what I wanted to emphasize here. So you can print different data types like list and other things as well. So apart from this, we also have dictionaries, sets, and so on, which we will eventually get to when we discuss about data types in our course. But you can just like take this example for now. Okay, so this is how you can work with different data types. So the other thing that we are going to discuss is you can also use a separator. So let me say, put this as 9. Using a separator. Okay, so now I'll say print apple and then banana. So this is not in a list. I'm just like printing different strings here, multiple string values individually. So we have apple, banana, and orange. So I'll run this. So we have apple, banana, and orange. So let's say that I want these to be separated by a specific symbol or something. In that case, I can use the parameter called a separation and use that here. So I can put a semicolon and give a space, and that's going to add a semicolon and space after the end of each of these things. So if you want to put a, let's say a hyphen or something, so that's also possible. You can, if you want to remove the space, you can remove this. So this is for using a separator. So let me just, even if you can put a comma and add a space, you would get something like this, but I'll just like leave this with semicolon. So this is how you can use a custom separator in order to print the multiple parts of the string that you're using in this print statement. So these are all the different variations I have wanted to discuss today. And the last thing that we would discuss after this is like how you can print colored statements in print in Python. So here for this we can use a library called as term color. And to install this you can say as pip install term color. Okay, so we are using this exclamatory mark here because this is a command that we would run in a terminal. So all those commands should be preceded by an exclamatory mark so that Jupyter Notebook knows that we are trying to run a command in this particular cell. So if you want to understand where this pip install term color is coming from, so this is like a separate library that we have in Python. So you can just go to Google and mention the name of the library and put PYPI. It stands for Python Package Index, and here you would see this PYPI, right? So click here and you would see the installation command, and the version of this is 2.4.0. If you want to mention the version number as well, you can just copy this. After this pip install term color, use double equal to sign and put the version number here. So that's going to do this installation of this particular version in your Python environment. So as you can see, this has been, I've already installed this, so it says requirement already satisfied. It may also come as a inbuilt package as well. You can maybe try that. So we are going to use this term color library in order to print this colored strings and so on. So similarly, you can also include like install other libraries like NumPy, Pandas or something by just simply searching for NumPy and PYPI. And in this pypi.org site, you will see the installation command for installing NumPy or any library of your choice. So here we have successfully installed term color. Now from term color, import colored. So this colored is the function that we are going to use in order to provide us colored text in the print statement. So here I can say print, and before saying the string that you want to print, use this colored function that's going to work along with this print statement. Create another parenthesis and close this, and within this say the string. Let's say this is a red text, and put a comma after this string, and the next attribute that we have to mention is like what's the color that we are expecting. So this would say this is a red text. So all we did is we are just using the same print statement, but we are using this color method that we have imported from this term color, and it takes two parameters. First is the string that you are going to print, and the next one is like what's the color that you want. So if you want a different color, so all you have to do is just just change this to green. So you can have the same string, or you can just like change this red to green. So this won't dictate it. Only this second part is it's what going to dictate the color. So if you want a different color, let's say yellow, you can just say yellow, and that's going to print that particular color here. So apart from this, you can also add other attributes. So now let's say that I'll copy this and make this as blue. So the text says it's a green text, but we want a blue color. Put a comma after this blue. Create a parameter value called as attributes, and we are going to pass the attributes as bold. So here we are passing this bold to this attribute within square bracket, which is a list. I'll run this. Oh, sorry. So this should be without b. So that's going to create this, but it will be like slightly bold. So maybe I'll show you another version without this bold so that it's side by side and you can see the difference. See, So the first line, it's not bold, but the next one, it's kind of like bold in format. So this is how you can print colored strings using this print statement in Python. But here we are using a library called as term color. So these are the things that I wanted to discuss today, but please practice this code. So these are simple, but we kind of often use this like in our coding journey. So we have discussed like the various versions, such as just a simple print statement and how to concatenate different variables that contains both strings and integers and so on, and also discuss about this new line escape characters, tabs, and also how to use quotes within a string and so on, and also an important f string substitution format method and so on, and also how to print your raw string, printing list, boolean and other data types, and how to use a separator between these individual string. And finally we have discussed how we can print this colored text. So I hope that everyone is clear of whatever the things that we have discussed today. So that is all from my side, and I'll see you in the next upload. Thanks for watching.